Welcome to the Ratchet Life political series, where receipts meet reality and history gets its remix. Dr. Umar said it best. America got laws for everything except protecting its babies. Elvis married a 13-year-old, Epstein had a whole network, and California still playing blind. Meanwhile, foreigners get loans to open restaurants in black neighborhoods, while black folks get denied credit for their own dreams. And now, they questioning Trump's mental health after he done said everything but the truth. So buckle up. We talking policy, hypocrisy, and prophecy. I'm Renay Amir, and baby, I'm about to cook this whole system on a platter.
Why are there so many Chinese food restaurants in black neighborhoods? It's due to a very special type of seasoning called
racism. It's what's for dinner.
Back in 1882, the U.S. passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, banning most Chinese immigrants from entering the country. But because the government loves money, it left a loophole. If you were a laborer, no entry. But if you owned a business, you could qualify as a merchant, which meant you could stay and you could bring your family over. Then in 1915, a court ruled that owning a restaurant counted as a business. And just like that, opening a Chinese restaurant became a one-way ticket into America. Then came a new problem in the 1960s. Basically, banks were racist as fudge. If Chinese folks wanted to open up restaurants in white neighborhoods, the answer was often no.
But because the positionality of Asian Americans is weaponized to oppress black people, Asian Americans were being given loans to open businesses in black communities, even though black people were not able to receive loans to open businesses in their own communities.
Why has the U.S. Congress never passed a minimum age for child marriage?
Never passed it.
Why is there no law in this country that says marriage can only be between a man and a consenting female who is at least 18 years old?
Right.
Do you know we don't have a minimum marriage law in this country?
No, sir.
Do you know that in 33 states you can marry children? California has no minimum age. All you need is parental consent and judicial consent. I'm gonna say it again. In the state of California, you can marry a child of any age. There is no minimum.
That's heavy.
But y'all say y'all don't like pets.
Right. Yeah.
Elvis Presley got a new movie coming out. Wasn't Priscilla living in his house and she was what, 13? 14?
Yes.
So I need white people to explain to me. You upset over Epstein. But Elvis got a new movie coming out. You about to celebrate Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, two known plantation on July 4th. Your country don't have a minimum marriage age for the girls. 33 states allow child marriage. If you're against this loan, hundreds of thousands of documented sex abuse cases against children, you still Catholic, but you got a problem with Epstein? You had a problem with Sean Combs? But you gonna turn a blind eye to this?
Like what? What?
Open the fucking straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. Mr. Secretary, does this raise concerns for you about the president's mental health?
The president is a bargainer, and he knows how to make good deals.
Mr. Secretary, does this raise questions about the president's mental health to you?
Here's what I would say, that for 2 generations, every American president...
Mr. Secretary, you're being non-responsive. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Secretary, I gather the answer, it does not raise concerns for you. President Trump posted this image of himself as Jesus Christ. People across the country and around the world were deeply offended by this blasphemous image. Millions of Americans are questioning this president's mental fitness, his emotional stability, and whether he can carry out the duties of his office. Do you share their concerns about his mental health?
I want to call your attention to the last line of that.
Mr. Secretary, my question was, do you share their concerns about his mental health?
I want to call your attention.
Mr. Secretary, you're not being responsive. Apparently not. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman, direct a witness. It's my time, Mr. Secretary. Millions of Americans are now wondering if this president is delusional and thinks he is Jesus Christ. Mr. Secretary, given everything that I've shown you today, will you insist that President Trump undergo an assessment of his mental fitness and his emotional stability?
Absolutely not.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Reclaiming my time absolutely not. I remind you that under the 25th Amendment, you have a duty to remove a president who is physically or mentally unable to discharge his responsibilities under the Constitution. Mr. Secretary, should President Trump fail a mental fitness test or an evaluation about his mental stability or emotional stability, would you vote to invoke the 25th Amendment?
There hasn't been a president who's more
Mr.
sane.
Secretary, my question is, would you vote to invoke the 25th Amendment? Mr. Secretary, reclaiming my time. It's my question, Mr. Secretary. Would you invoke the 24th Amendment if he were to fail an assessment of his mental stability or emotional stability?
As I said, President Trump is the most...
Apparently not, Mr. Secretary. Apparently not. Mr. Secretary, we can all see that this president is mentally unstable, emotionally unstable, and is unfit to lead this country. You, as the nation's top health official, have a particular role here, and you are choosing your loyalty to Donald Trump over your loyalty to the Constitution and keeping the faith with the American people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Shut your bitch ass up! Why did you decide that these 4 patriots were not worthy enough to have their names on a base?
Well, Senator, as you know, this was never about the names of the bases they were
You didn't call any of the families. Families were called by the press. That's how they learned about this. Research to find brave American soldiers with the same last names, Lee, Hill, and Pickett, who had not fought for the Confederacy and declared that those Confederate adjacent names would be restored. The problem is that you had to strip away the names of 4 amazing people that the Pentagon and local communities had chosen to honor at the Virginia bases. Charity Adams. Charity Adams was an Army officer during World War II, the first African-American woman allowed to join the WACs. She was the commanding officer of the 6888th Central Postal Directory Battalion, a unique battalion composed primarily of African-American women making sure that American GIs in Europe got their mail during World War II. Charity Adams was the highest-ranking African-American woman in the military at the end of World War II. Her family was at the dedication of Fort Gregg Adams, named in honor of these 2 trailblazing logistics leaders. They were so proud. Why did you decide that these 4 patriots were not worthy enough to have their names on a base?
Well, Senator, as you know, this was never about the names of the bases they were renamed to.
So you don't challenge the worthiness?
Bases, restoring all bases to their original name,
Confederate
we're not
names.
about erasing
Okay,
history.
you don't care about their military record. You wanted to restore the Confederate names. When you called the Gregg family to tell them that their dad's name was no longer going to be on the base, what was their reaction?
Senator, the Army notified them of that.
You didn't call any of the families, and I've spoken with the families, and the families were called by the press. That's how they learned about this. You didn't call the Barfoot family, the Gregg family, and you didn't call the Adams family. In fact, 2 of General Gregg's granddaughters, Avery and Sydney, are right here in the audience, and I want to ask you this as I close. While you announced that these brave men and women's names would be stripped from the Virginia bases, no orders to that effect have been received by the base commanders. In light of the patriotic service of Van Barfoot, Arthur Gregg, Charity Adams, and Mary Walker, I'd like to ask you simply not to issue the orders changing the names of these Virginia bases. These families, my Commonwealth, are very proud of these heroes, very satisfied with these names, and ask you not to change them. Will you honor these exemplary patriots and keep their worthy names in places on the bases they loved and where they served?
Well, Senator, we very much thank and appreciate them for their service, and we'll find ways to recognize them, but the orders will soon be going to those bases to change the names back to the original name that never should have been changed.
But you have...
All right, y'all. That's enough chaos for today. 'Cause every time we peel back a layer in this country, it smells like somebody been lying since 1776. But don't worry. I'm gonna keep calling out the contradictions with grace and a little ghetto seasoning. They rewrite history, I bring the receipts. They dodge accountability, I spin the block with facts. So, stay woke, stay petty, and stay ready. 'Cause baby, I'm coming back to cook this system again. I'ma call out the lies, unpack the mess, and sprinkle a little hood wisdom on top. So until next time, keep your edges laid, your facts straight, and your spirit unbothered. 'Cause baby, Auntie Renay Amir is gonna keep breaking it down like rent day.